All right. If you're good to start, I'm good to go, and we can jump right in.
I'm good to go.
All right. Let's do this. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Andor recaps here on For the Republic, a love letter to Star Wars animation. It is Andrew and Don here to talk about episode 9 of Andor titled Nobody's Listening. And I'll just say, when I clicked on Disney Plus and I saw that was the title this week, I was like, what is this going to be like? I don't know how I felt. But then watching the episode, the title itself might be my favorite of the entire season because it is just such a key moment in this episode to take the title from. And the way that this episode keeps like starting and ending and returning to lines, especially near the very end, so dang good. There is so much to talk about. But Don, you were not here for last week because we had to record at an inconvenient time for the UK time.
Yeah.
So what have you thought of this prison arc so far, and what do you think about this just horrible, just Imperial prison that it's
I both love the artistry on display and I absolutely abhor the system because it's like it's been the last episode was really good. I was like everyone else was like super surprised when
It was
Andy
so good.
Serkis showed up. I was like, what are you doing here? And I was happy to see like Melchi make an appearance. And I love the way the prison is set up, and I love how it kind of continues this kind of horrifying banality that we see with the Empire. And as we're about to discuss with this episode, it takes it even further. Like, this is probably the darkest episode, chapter 9 currently. Like, there are moments here that horrified me the more I thought about them.
Yeah.
But yeah, chapter 8, really good. I liked how they were building on all of the different narrative threads. You know, Dedra's story is really interesting. You know, it was cool to see her and Syril meet finally and see that story develop.
And then that gets enhanced in this week. Oh boy, when we get to that. But yeah, no, this episode got way darker than I was expecting it to. Like, last week's was pretty dark, especially some of the stuff that they had about the prison, about like the hot floor and everything. And then this week it just gets worse. So so yeah, we have a lot to talk about for this week. But off the top, real quick, I just want to do a couple things, and then we have some casting news for the Acolyte that we can bring up real quick. But I just want to say, if you did not check out last week's episode, we recapped last week's episode. We had Mo on, Jin My Stardust on Twitter, co-owner of Sunshine Seekers. It was such a fun episode, and she dressed up as Tala for Halloween, and I dressed up as Obi-Wan. So, I mean, friends of the podcast and the podcast family just collaborating there. Did you do anything for Halloween, Don, or is that not a huge thing?
No cosplay for me. No,
none for you.
No cosplay for me. I just sort of chilled and watched scary movies.
I mean, that's a good way to.
I watched The Black Phone. That was a good one.
Yeah,
kind of ran out of steam a little bit, and I also watched Nope, which
I like.
Both
I like
good,
Nope
like,
a lot.
Yeah.
There's
a lot of like scary stuff in that, but overall, Nope and Black Phone, they're both really good, but they both kind of like fell off in the third act a little bit for me.
I'll agree with you there. It's definitely my least favorite of Jordan Peele's like directorial work, but I still thought it was really good. I think some people might have been a bit displeased with it because it wasn't just straight horror like Us and Get Out were. To me, it was the weakest part of it. The sci-fi stuff I really enjoyed, and just the family drama aspect I also really enjoyed. But I mean, it was good. I liked it. I saw that one in theaters. For me, I took those pictures on Saturday. My lightsaber, well, the blade for that saber broke, which I talked about on Twitter and in the Discord, which was great. The replacement blade came today, so I'm going to test that out later. And then on Halloween itself, I literally just like slept most of the day and then chilled and ate sweets. So, I mean, that's the best way of doing it.
Yeah, but I agree.
Now that we have I was thinking of maybe doing like something related to the pod for Halloween, like maybe streaming like one of the quote unquote scary episodes of the Clone Wars. But we'll get to that when we get to that. I kind of just want to keep going where we're going, or just watch Downfall of a Droid again, because I mean that might be the biggest piece of horror in all of Star Wars.
That's it's the real horror story. It's like everyone thinks the Lego Star Wars Halloween special is the scariest thing Star Wars animation has done. No. Downfall of a Droid.
I could have done Terrifying Tales too. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Like that would have been perfect. I should have rewatched that, but I haven't. I didn't revisit it at all this Halloween season. So, but I've revisited the holiday special during the holiday season. So probably going to do that again this year. But onto the casting news. This Acolyte cast, Don, just keeps getting better and better and better because Daphne Keane, who is most well known to me at least as being Laura / X-23 in Logan, which is one of the best superhero movies of all time, in my opinion. I think it's probably top 3 at the very least for me. Just got cast in The Acolyte. We already have so many great names in here. Amanda Stenberg, the Squid Game guy whose name I'm forgetting, Manny Jacinto. Like the list keeps going on. Jodie Turner-Smith. Like the list keeps going on and on and on. I think she's going to make an amazing addition to this cast, especially if there's like a specific character that's supposed to be like a younger lead. I just think she's going to do great things. And like I said, she was great in Logan without having to even say that much. But you said she's really good in His Dark Materials, which I have not seen.
Yeah, she's the lead in that, and she's really compelling. And like you said with Logan, she's like, it's kind of incredible that she has such presence as such a young performer, and to really get across the like rage of like being a kind of like Wolverine like character with claws and everything. I mean, yeah, I love Logan. Logan is a terrific film. I'm still hyped for Deadpool 3 with Hugh Jackman.
Yep.
So hyped for that. But yeah, Logan, fantastic. Daphne Keane, also fantastic. So happy she's like in The Acolyte of all things, because The Acolyte is shaping up to be probably my most hyped bit of Star Wars media going forward. Like, because before that it was Obi-Wan, and it's like the cast here, like you said, like I'm just checking my phone currently, but yeah, it's so the Squid Game actor is Lee Jung Jae. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, so he's the one from Squid Game, and it's just like this cast is amazing. You've got Amanda Stenberg, Daphne Keane, Lee Jung Jae, as I just said, and like all these other actors in like the High Republic setting. Like this is going to be actually going to, like, yeah, obviously, like, you know, in case I haven't said it before on the podcast, huge High Republic fan, like the rest of us. In fact, I just got this today's Path of Deceit. Just arrived.
Haven't started it yet. I'm still very behind, but I think
I won't be able to touch it yet.
Honorable started it.
Yeah, I envy them. I still have to finish Midnight Horizon.
Yeah,
I'm still finishing that, but I did finally read Monster of Temple Peak today. Really
so
cool.
Good.
Ty Yorick, she's in my top 5.
Have you read Trail of Shadows yet? Because that is...
I have. Trail of Shadows is so good. Like anyone who's like just sort of dipping into the novel side of like High Republic right now, read Trail of Shadows. Yeah. It is so good.
It's a contender for my favorite comic run since the Marvel reboot. It's so good. And if we end up doing like a best stories of the year thing at the end of the year, don't be shocked if it's in my top 3, because it's so good. But yeah, no, I think that the many roles that she could play here are like, there's so many you can, and it might not even be like the thing you might immediately go to because of what you've seen in Logan and other stuff. Like off the top of my head, I'm just, the one thing I can't get out of my head since we started recording is like a younger Padawan kind of being, because we know it's going to have to do a lot with the dark side and the Sith. So I wonder if she is going to be like tortured through the like by, or like the main Sith character. I wonder if that's going to be like her target, or his or her target in the show, or maybe, because I know I would like to see like her and Amanda Stenberg share a lot of scenes. I think they could have a really cool dynamic, but we don't know any of these characters yet. We don't even really know what the show is going to be. We just know
other
High
than the High
Republic
Republic connection.
gonna have
Yeah.
some type of Sith thing in there, and gonna have some type of Sith thing in there, and like mystery thriller. So I mean, all of those
Martial
things.
arts as well. There was a
Yes.
mention about like it involving like mixed martial arts, which is really cool because there's a load of like we don't see it as much in the movies or the live action shows, but the animation side, like Clone Wars specifically, there are all these really cool like hand to hand fighting scenes involved, like it's including Jedi as well. So I'd love to see that represented on like live action, and we don't really get enough like kind of like intense martial arts type fighting films unless it's something like Everything Everywhere All at Once or like The Matrix, so I'd love to see that kind of stuff done in Star Wars, especially when you're dealing with Force people who can use the Force, who can like predict each other's moves, that it just the whole concept I'm super excited for, like especially with I'm blanking on the director's name, but the hang on Leslie Headland. There it is.
Oh yes,
Leslie Headland. The fact that Leslie Headland is like the showrunner of this, had me hyped for it even before they started casting. Because like I watched Russian Doll. Russian Doll is so good. It's like I've only seen the first season, but my goodness, that story is like so good, and it has such a unique like it knows what kind of show it is. It has this. It feels unique among Netflix shows, and it was just a real like pleasure to watch, not knowing where this show was going to go. So I kind of have the same kind of expectations for The Acolyte. I don't know what's going to happen,
things about
but I'm so excited. Yeah. Oh no, definitely you should absolutely give it a watch. It is hella good.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I'm super hyped for it. I hope next year I think next year is when it's going to start filming, so I hope around celebration time next year we start to hear more and more and maybe get a glimpse of what the show is going to be, because like you said, it is my most hyped project off the top of my head, at least, going forward once Andor is over with, because I am just very excited. But
that and Ahsoka for me, because I want to because I'm obviously Hu Yang. It's going to be a good year for David Tennant next year. What can I say? He's got good omens. Potentially Ahsoka. They better not recast him. And also coming back to Doctor Who. You won't be able to see, but I am wearing a Doctor Who t-shirt underneath this. That's my level of hype for Doctor Who next year.
I mean, I have one of those like retro Padme shirts on. So like, does that
seen.
count? Yeah,
that's a dope choice.
Okay, well, speaking of Doctor Who, now that we get Andor, we have to ask the ultimate question, because I spread the gospel last week when you weren't here.
Thank you so much for filling in.
Are there any Doctor Who alumni in this episode?
There is, yes. I would like to bring us to the... Yes, it is the Doctor who comes in at the end. Yes.
Oh, it's the one at the end. Okay, I didn't know if it was the torture doctor.
No, it's not Ghost. It's the prison doctor at the very end who comes in to effectively euthanize Olaf, which was really hard, which was just like that was dark. But anyway, yes, the Doctor who comes in to euthanize Olaf, or to treat him at first initially, he was in so like if you just like you'll know him movie-wise as James Potter in all the Harry Potter films. He played the role across all 8 films. Yes. I think he had like different. Because he's not got as much hair as that. I think he had like a wig on maybe for like the last few films, but he was James Potter in those films. And as for Doctor Who, he was in Series 4, Episode 3, Planet of the Ood, with David Tennant, where he played a scientist.
All right, scientist, doctor. We get more connections. We're slowly gonna start working on making this its own little thing on the YouTube channel. Don and I have been talking about that. Yeah, we got to come up with a title or something. There we go. Who Watch? Where we'll take actors that have been in Doctor Who or any British TV staples and have made their way into Star Wars and talk about their characters. So look out for that sometime soon. We got to start doing more stuff on our YouTube page. But we get to this episode and we start off we start off with, I don't want to talk about this scene. If you have the YouTube stream open, just Dedra, stay away from her. I don't like you Do
that
not go after
that was
Bix.
me last episode. I was like,
Yeah.
you better leave her alone. Like that whole sequence, I was just like, I had my fingers crossed. I was like, please, consent. The moment Dedra goes away, can Cinta just bust in
Yeah,
and like
the
rescue Bix
whole
before
time this episode, when the torture stuff was going on, I was like, Cinta, show up. Cinta, show up. And like, Cinta is not in the episode at all.
you're staking yourself out there. Come on.
I'm like,
But
save
no,
her,
sadly,
please.
yeah.
There's a lot of juicy Vel development in this episode, but no Cinta, unfortunately. I had to wait. Which is why, like, this week, like, so much happened last week, but then this week, no Luthen, no Cinta, no Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
And it still, like, hit home, like, I'd say equally as much as last week's, if not even more, in my opinion, because this episode was so dark and so intense. And I'm just, yeah, no. This torture scene, I don't like it. Dedra, I was rooting for you. I was rooting for you for the first 7 episodes. Then you have to go and capture Bix last week, and now this.
I love that they have gone here though, because like this is the thing. As much as I now have like a burning dislike of Dedra,
you gotta make the villains villains.
Yeah, you've got to make the villains villains. But like they knew that what they were doing here. They knew that they would like kind of get the audience, like us as viewers, to sympathize with Dedra a little bit. Like we know she's bad. We know she works for the ISB, and if she has greater ambitions there, she either has to have some issues that she has to work on, like Moses Ingram did in Obi-Wan, or like an ulterior motive, or she's bad news. And as we see here, it's the latter. She's bad news. Like, and it's the kind of clever thing where it's like, be careful what you wish for. Oh, you were happy that she got ahead. Well, guess what? She is way worse than a lot of these more buffoonish Imperials. And that's the kind of genius thing, because I think I said it like a few episodes ago. She's kind of intimidating because she's intelligent. She knows she's more savvy to what the rebels are doing. Because I wasn't there for last week, obviously, but like there's that moment when she meets Bix where she very cleverly kind of goes, leave him here. I wanted to see him. And then when Bix is brought in, she's like, what are you doing? Get him out of here. Like it was an accident. And like, it's so managed to unnerve. It's so carefully stage managed to unnerve Bix, to get in Bix's head. And like the whole the whole thing with Dedra is really impressive where they're going with it. And I'm see, I agree fully with the graphic that Andrew says here. I will not forgive her for what she's done to Bix, but
how dare
it's
you?
impressive that like we can go there with what she does to Bix. Like I haven't felt this much anger towards someone for torturing another person since Bellatrix Lestrange tortured Hermione in Harry Potter. Like it gave me those kind of vibes.
That's a good one. Yeah, I mean, the way that the torture was handled too is like they beef up this torture device and the way that the torture method, and they just make it sound so horrifying. And I think the fact that we didn't even hear it, we just saw like Bix's face and then the screaming, which, by the way, the editing in that scene, fantastic. I think it made it scarier, like us not knowing what she heard.
It's both a parallel to Leia's torture, like they have that really cool parallel where the door shuts and it pans up across like the Imperial officer's feet as he walks away. But it also kind of parallels with what happens with Han, because like you don't see the torture, you don't know what's being done to Han, you just hear his screaming. But and it's really clever because it's like it's kind of by necessity they have to kind of have this new method of torture, because like because she has to crack and give some information up to Dedra to further the story along, and you can't just have it be the regular torture droid with the injections, because we've seen that be done to characters before. We've seen Leia and Hera be put under this method of interrogation, and they've resisted it and not given up any information. So if that happened to Bix, I don't know, it would have felt a little harsh to Bix that she just cracks under that. So they kind of have to come up with this. But what a concept. Like the more I think about it, it might be one of the most terrifying ideas I've ever seen explored in Star Wars. Like the Empire literally massacred, like caused the genocide of an indigenous race of people, and weaponized the screams, the dying, pleading screams of their children of children to use for torture. Like it's so
thinking about
it's
it, I'm
so morbid.
ugh.
It's
Like,
so
how do
it's
you
so
come up
freaking
with
dark.
that?
Oh my goodness.
And just the fact that like Dedra like beefs it up is like, oh, if you just cooperate, we don't have to do this. We can just make this a conversation. And then Bix has that great moment where she's like, you're not going to believe me no matter what I say, are you? And she's like, yep. And then the torture starts, which like the way the doctor, which like shout out to this doctor, whose name I'm forgetting, but
Gorst, I think
Gorst. Yeah. Shout out to him for just like, he's so chipper and like cheerful when describing it, which just makes it worse. It's like, all right, yeah, so
he's so creepy.
Might want to strap in.
He's so excited to test this, which makes it even worse. Like obviously, I don't think Dedra will die, but I kind of hope someone like just shoots him, like blasts him, because like he deserves that.
Is it so? It's so weird. Like I never thought I'd say this, that like 9 episodes in, like Dedra was like planted as the one that we're rooting for, and then Syril is just pathetic, and we'll get to him later because he needs to just stand trial for for what he did in this one. But I never thought I'd say that after 9 episodes, to me at least, the most likable Imperial is Partagaz, who was just like introduced as like oh, the hard ass boss that like, oh, you got to bend the rules and you know it's gonna be tough under here. Like when they were really going hard on Ferrix after Syril fucked everything up, and now I'm just like, I kind of like him. I don't know why, but like it's so crazy. Like I was really liking Dedra, but I watched Star Wars Explains review of this, and to paraphrase what he said, I really agree with it. Is he was like, they set Dedra up the last few episodes to where she was going against like characters, even though they're also Imperials and they're also villains. Like we're supposed to dislike them more than her, like Blevin, like the other people she's going against.
Yeah.
To where we kind of root for her when she's supposed to be the underdog and root for getting up there. But now when she goes after someone we actually like Bix, we're like, oh no, you're a monster and you have been this whole time. But now it's impacting us more because it's someone that we like a whole lot more in Bix. And I'm never going to recover from after the shot of her, because we only see her one more time and we just see her so like defeated. And that last shot, I was just like, I think Alden Diaz tweeted about the torture scene, and I just said I'm never going to be the same again. So thanks, Tony Gilroy. Thank you for that, for my forever emotional trauma. By the way, I guess we can briefly talk about it, but there was something going around. I don't know if it's been debunked or not, but there was that rumor that Adria Arjona signed on for more projects.
I hope so.
I hope that means that she lives. Because if they kill her after this, I don't think I'm gonna. I said last week, Don, when Mo and Connor were here, I said if Bix dies next week, I'm not gonna be on the episode. Someone else is gonna have to do it. I gotta take the week off.
Like the next episode airs after like Bix is like killed off, and it's just like there's just like no one here because everyone is like in mourning.
Yeah, we get the background. It's like, sorry, none of the crew could be here this week. We're just we can't. Sorry.
We're just like mourning Bix and like hating Dedra. No, but I mean,
we came close with Bix, Kenobi with Tala.
It was the flashbacks that kind of drew us all back. Really,
I know. We were like, Clone Wars, but then we're like, we just lost Deadbeat and Tala in one scene. So and then with Nemec,
I'm optimistic for Bix.
Ago.
Yeah, I'm optimistic for Bix because like. There is that parallel, like we said, to Leia, with what happened to her. So I'm hoping it's not just a reference, that it is also like an actual thematic parallel, and that Bix will kind of come back from this stronger than ever and join the rebellion. Because I could see her being part of the rebellion, but also growing distant from Cassian, because I could see a part of her maybe resenting him for putting her in this situation, because like she's being tortured because of him at the end of the day, like. She's being tortured because he dropped back here, solely because he killed 2 people looking for his sister. It's not technically his fault, but it sort of indirectly is. And I could see her maybe I could see her growing to resent him, even if they like reunite and like
I
both
really
join the
hope that
rebellion.
Bix doesn't. I mean, that Cassian doesn't take it out on her for her caving to the torture, because I mean, the way that they built it up, it's like if she didn't, like they would have killed.
They would have killed her. Yeah, they would
And
have killed her. I know. I see Cassian. If Cassian finds out, I imagine he would go gunning for Dedra, because, like,
yeah,
as self-serving as Cassian has been at points throughout the series, I get the sense that he does care about Bix, and if anything happened to Bix, you know, he would go after and kill whoever did it. So
I
I
mean,
could
we
see
saw
him.
what he did with Skeen, like, and
Yeah,
that was related to
yeah,
Nemec and a cause that he doesn't
exactly.
even fully believe in at that
Yeah.
point.
So
So, like, if he
goodness
goes
knows
after,
what he would.
yeah, if he goes
Goodness
after
knows what he'd
Bix, and
do.
especially because they hint later in the episode that they're targeting Marva, if they even if she dies, they're done. They're done.
I
But
think Bix is safe. I'm
Marva,
concerned for
I'm
Marva
fairly
and
certain is
Brasso.
not making it out of the season.
Yeah, I
Bix,
could see Marva
I'm
and
at
Brasso
least
dying.
I at least think Bix makes it out of season 1. I'm hoping 2. I'm worried
Yeah.
about, because again, the Jin connection in Rogue One makes me think Bix is not a factor at that point. So whether she's gone on elsewhere or she has been, we'll have to find out. But no, I hope that she has more stories, or if they do like a spin-off book or comic or something. And if they don't, Austin, I have an idea for you. I'll message you later. But yeah, no, this was terrible. I was just
It
like
was
all the
hard
hair on my
going.
body was standing up. It was one of the most gruesome and dark scenes that I've ever seen in a
Yeah.
Star Wars show. And they
And there's
didn't
no bloodshed.
stop there, folks. No bloodshed,
No.
no like needless gore or like anything to make it look like it. So it's
Yeah.
dark because of this. No. It's like they make you like psychologically sick to your stomach.
And shout out to Adria Arjona for like just
oh my God,
the way
just the
quiet
facial
strength she
expressions
embodied.
alone.
Yeah, like the quiet resistance that she embodied, but also the clear fear in her eyes, and the way she conveyed just how horrifying what the sounds that she must be listening to are. Like, just brilliant.
Yeah. Whoever the Imperial was, it just like casually like was like, oh yeah, let's hang the other guy. I'm like, just right here.
Yeah,
like
screw you, man.
Yeah, and that you know that if he does end up getting killed by the Empire, which I'm fairly certain he's going to, I think that's going to be the big catalyst of what jump starts the rebellion on Ferrix. And hopefully, I mean, I'm assuming, because like right now Bix is stuck in there because they need her there because she's the only one that can identify Luthen. So I feel like once that happens, we're gonna see where this goes with her. But I gotta assume that Cinta is going to be a factor in her getting out of there.
I think so too, yeah.
Because we know that Vel and her are still tasked with killing Cassian. I don't think that obviously Cassian's not going to die.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to end up working with him. Like that's
I actually have a theory. I'm just thinking now, like I get the sense that the finale might involve just like a return fully to Ferrix for all the characters, like the riots break out and Cassian hears about it and basically goes to like get his loved ones out of there, because I could see him kind of coming full circle, you know, especially now that he is kind of like, because this is something I was going to expand on, like, you know, we are seeing, you know, we as through Cassian are like experiencing the full evil of the Empire. And like we've seen how Cassian before has said like, oh, the Empire don't care, but he also gets to see up close how the Empire treats everyone, and he's also learning to be part of a team properly. Like by the time we see him at the start of here, he's working with like all of his like his table. He you know notices Olaf is struggling, and he switches places with him, which Kino recognizes and is like, oh yeah, no, that's a good idea.
Oh yeah,
the
minute Olaf was struggling, I was like, oh no, like right there, I know, I'm like, he's not making it out of this episode, is he?
because I was like, they've cast Christopher Fairbank in this role, and he's a prolific enough actor that he's not just being cast as like a throwaway prisoner. He's being cast for someone who's gonna have a greater purpose. And I was like, he's not making it out of here.
No.
So like, yeah, the more weaker he got, the moment he started struggling, I was like, yeah, he's done for. He's not getting out of here. And it's just the way they do it is just like, oh,
he only had 40 shifts left.
I know the way Andy Serkis says that line. It's brutal. And especially knowing like what the ultimate kind of like intention is with the prison, it makes it even more heartbreaking. It's just so dark.
I think that's one of the best Star Wars twists in recent memory. Just the way that they got to it. And I guess we can talk about that. Focusing more on Cassian's prison, like you said, the episode showcases so much of Cassian's intelligence and ability to take lead and being a leader in this scenario, which I really loved. And we're just seeing him like adapt to the prison and figure things out. We cut to him like trying to saw away at a pipe, and then we see him talking to another inmate about ways to escape, things he's observed, how he notices when the guards are wearing their boots and when they're not, what shocks people and what doesn't.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see him be proactive as well, because he has like for the last arc, because he had the other like Aldani rebels to like plan. He was somewhat passive because he was going along with the plan. So it's really cool to see him be proactive,
take action, actively be the leader here.
Exactly, actively be trying to get out of there, speaking to other prisoners, like you said, like noting how much stuff. And I love how this episode builds up these different ideas, like with the it repeats and builds to certain things, and then it reaches a really satisfying crescendo with like the question of what happened on level 2 and how many guards.
How many guards are in each level, which is just repeated throughout the episode.
And the answer is one of the best lines, end episode lines.
So hyped, because the first time Cassian asked it to Kino, he's like, "Shut the fuck up! Like I'm just here. I have a couple shifts left. I'm just trying to serve my sentence. I don't want to cause anything." And because last episode, Kino, Andy Serkis, he was such a drill sergeant type of hard ass character. He just kept assaulting Melshi at every opportunity. But then this episode, we see the slow like unraveling of his picture of what the Empire is and what the prison is. And it's like, I'm just going to try to serve my sentence. I feel like I have some type of position of power here. I'm not going to try to ruffle any feathers, and I'm going to do my time and leave. And then once he realizes that this isn't like, that's not going to happen, I'm stuck here, as we find out, he immediately is just like, yep, no, I'm in. Which I love the slow recruitment of Kino throughout the episode.
It's so good. Like I honestly thought that he would just be an obstacle the whole way through, because like the way Andy Serkis played it last episode, I was like, oh yeah, he's not going to change. He's just going to be an obstacle if anything. But like, yeah, didn't think I'd be rooting for Kino Loy, but here we are. Like I'm so impressed with like the whole way throughout that we just see him, as you said, gradually unravel. And he plays it so well, Andy Serkis, because you see through the gruff demeanor that he does care about all these other prisoners. They're the closest thing he has to a family, and he's been working really hard to play by these rules, these unfair, rigorous structure that the Empire has beset them. And then Cassian says to him what he says to Luther: "The Empire don't care." And like you said, that's probably my favorite moment of the whole episode. As awesome as that final line is. That's the moment when Cassian is shouting to him, "Nobody's listening." That is just like so amazing, and it's so timely as well, because like it's twofold.
And then it's a call forward to Rogue One.
Yes, exactly.
Listening,
which is fantastic. Like such good writing, because it works twofold. Because
the way that this show keeps portraying the Empire, and Cassian has done this, is like they don't care about people at all.
Exactly. It's so accurate of what a fascist regime is like, and it's so timely as well, because like on the one hand he's telling Kino, oh yeah, they're not listening into us, but then he starts shouting, "Nobody's listening," and he's also kind of talking about the fact that no one is listening to him. No one is believing him when he says they don't care. Stop trying to play by the rules.
At this point, we don't really see him like agreeing with it. Like he's obviously just like Cassian's bud, but like we don't see him like a part of it like we do with that other inmate, which I don't remember if they said his name or not, but the one that we saw him having the conversation with when the guard showed up and the new prisoner was revealed. But like I'm just so intrigued in where this was going, because last week we were like, how are they going to escape? Is someone going to like, we were like, are Velen, Cinta, and Bix going to come in? Or is Luthen going to come in and break them out? But now it's like, it's clear that this is going to happen from within. And that makes me even more excited. And I'm hoping we're just going to see a huge scene of like every prisoner in the facility storming the guards and getting out of there, which I am so interested in, because they've literally like created like the ultimate, like, you cannot escape this prison, whether it's through the hot floors or the reveal at the end that, I mean, we'll get to it later, but there's no leaving it. You are, the sentence is never ending.
So chilling. It's a chilling reveal.
Which makes me think that like no matter of Olaf's health, that medic was going to kill him no matter what, because
it was a mercy killing.
Yeah, he was saving him from having to be in a scenario where he's just never getting out. It's like 40 shifts. It's like, that's
because they treat them like product, don't they? Yeah, because like the Empire, like that was what was so horrifying, quietly horrifying about the prison last episode, is that we got to see the Empire literally treats these prisoners like fodder, like products, if anything, that like drones that just build shit for them, and then they just recycle onto other levels. It's like, so chilling, and it's telling about how the Empire views people, and you know, they're like,
oh, it's cheaper than droid labor.
Yeah,
so
exactly, and it's a manifestation of what Cassian said. And I was going to say it's timely as well what he says, because like, you know, we have this so much in our own world, like in our politics, like, you know, we have like, you know, like you see like over in like Brazil with like the former President Bolsonaro like refusing to accept the result, even though like the Lula beat him fair and square. You know, you see it over here in you see it over here in the UK with like people like Prime Minister Rishi Sunak not attending the COP27 summit about climate change. You know, it's saying, oh, we've got more important stuff to do. And also in America, like with all the like Trump related stuff that goes on there. But
Lord.
there's
it could also be a metaphor for like the prison system, the way it's set up to like, once you're incarcerated, even though you might technically get released, are you really? Because the justice system is set up to where you're constantly finding yourself back in, because there isn't enough resources or support set up to where you're able to fully become a redeemed member of society again. And you're always like, there's all these hurdles you have to go through. And I mean, Tony Gilroy, like I said, he's not really subtle, or Star Wars is never really subtle with its political messages. But remember, Star Wars is it's never been political. So this is
no
all
politics,
new.
No Easter
eggs. There's none.
That's the rule.
I mean, I didn't notice any in this episode, so maybe they were onto something. Maybe they were onto something there. But no, everything in the prison was just so haunting in this episode. But the way that it just gets you so pumped for what is got to be just an amazing like rush of energy next episode with this breakout. It's gonna feel so good. And you know, surprisingly, I don't have the dread I had for the Aldani mission, where I was like, okay, this is gonna happen, but like everyone's gonna die. Surprisingly, I don't feel that way for this one. Like I feel like, well, obviously Melshi and Cassian are gonna get out, but I feel like Kino's gonna live. I feel like a bunch of these people are going to get out because of sheer
I want Kino
game.
to live. I feel like Kino will probably, my gut tells me Kino will probably wind up sacrificing himself so they can go, but so Cassian can get out of there. But like,
Kino's gonna live, but he's gonna get like a guard is gonna hit him right here, and he's gonna get a dent on his head right there.
And then he dies, and they take his body and they like they experiment on it, and Palpatine's like, "Ooh, this guy has resilience. I guess I'll use him for exegol experiments." And there you go. There's Snoke's origin.
There you go. It's like, I like the sound of that guy's voice.
I love that people actually were speculating about.
Yeah, it's like, is this
how
Snoke?
they're gonna? Yeah, there's like, of course it's not Snoke.
It's like we already revealed who Snoke is.
Like it's not Snoke. It's just Andy Serkis in Star Wars. Just be happy that we've got more Andy Serkis in Star Wars.
I'm so happy.
I want him to live solely because of that.
So bad. Like,
because I want to see more Andy Serkis in Star Wars.
We talked last week about like just how great he is as himself in roles and not these mocap roles that he's like the most known for, which he's obviously tremendous in. But like everything I've seen him in where he just is playing a regular character, he's great. And it's so great to have him back in Star Wars again and just in this role, which I think he's eating up, especially now that he's, we're rooting for him now, which we weren't last week, but now we're like, okay, he's the ending scene, like we said, is just so great. But
yeah, how many guards on each level? Never more than 12. Instant badassery. Instant badassery with such a seemingly throwaway line, and it's so indicative of the writing and how good the writing is that you hear that line and it shouldn't mean anything. It should just be like, it should be like, oh, okay, and instead you're like, yes.
And then
it gets you pumped.
Olaf's death scene, because both Kino and Cassian keep telling the James Potter that like, oh, his name is Olaf. He's like, I don't want to know his name. It's like, does he not want to know it because he knows that he has to die regardless, or is that also like the Empire doesn't care who this guy
because he's done it too many times? How many times has that doctor had to euthanize people because they've dropped, they can't work anymore? I mean, it kind of gives me Animal Farm vibes. With a certain character in the book, but like, my goodness, like that whole sequence was just it was uncomfortable in the right way. Like the way he injected that serum basically,
just
and he just
reaction
sort of like goes
was just kind of creepy. I'm like, what the hell was that?
It's such a and it's a stroke, isn't it? Like the fact that he has a stroke, like that doesn't happen in Star Wars. But like we see people get.
Did he have a stroke, or was that the medic?
Oh no,
coming.
I think he was right. I think he was being honest with them, like because like the way it's played, it definitely felt like that was what happened.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, but I feel like no matter what it was, he would have
probably. But it's such an impactful thing because that kind of thing, we see people get cut down with blaster bolts, lightsabers, and all this kind of sci-fi stuff. We don't really ever see someone like this. Is twice in a row. Well, not twice in a row, but this is like 2 episodes now of Andor where we've seen people die from these like more down to earth things like a heart attack or a stroke, and it's so like real world that it's almost kind of like sobering.
Because it was J-Hold.
J-Hold, Commandant J-Hold. Like the guy who couldn't fit into his couldn't get his belt around. And then like 5 minutes doing some labor, just couldn't hack it. You compare that with Olaf. You see Olaf, who like
a much older man. He's probably been in this prison for years and worked it, and like it's just terrible, like the way that they're doing this, and the beauty or the scariness and the effectiveness of how they were building towards this twist the whole episode, because they quickly realized something's up. Something happened on level 2. There was the power outage, and obviously we're like, oh yeah, because of course the power went out when you needed that much voltage to fry an entire level of people. But then the reveal that so we find out that none of these prisoners are leaving. Someone that was just released, I think they said it was on 4 or 5, ended up back on 4, and they ended up on 2. And they figured it out, and then the Empire killed everyone in that level to cover it.
Kind of like the circles of hell, isn't it? Like it really is. Almost wonder if they work their way down, like if they start up at the top floor and they're just recycled down as it goes along, because it kind of feels like that might be the intent, the symbolic comparison, like with the circular design of the prison and stuff.
It's like a purgatory, like you're stuck there.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great. That's exactly what it's kind of like, especially with all like the stark whiteness of the prison and like the way it's just kind of like conceived. Which
I do love the design of the prison. Like every time they show the multiple levels, just the fact that it's still kind of like underwater, I just think it looks really cool.
I love the set design. I hate the implementation.
I hate everything, like the actual thing, like hot floor and everything. But I'm like, oh man, they really do know how to build a cool looking prison. But like,
I saw someone tweet. I think Maggie Lovett tweeted it. Like she quote tweeted someone's pointing out that she'd said this already, but like someone said it's not really a good sign that this kind of looks like the hotel, the Star Wars hotel.
Oh no.
It's like it kind of does, and that's
There's
little
just gonna
bit
be
like,
a story.
ooh.
It's like, the Empire took over the Halcyon and turned it into a prison. It's like, whoops. Or they have the reveal. It's like, the Halcyon was first built as a prison in the Old Republic, and then was eventually converted into a luxury hotel where Han and Leia got married, and Anakin and Padme did the deed on it. Yeah, and Finn went on a vacation.
Don't like flavor in your food.
Again, just the fact that they compete. We talked about this last week, but the fact that what they're competing for is literal just flavor in their food, the ability to taste again. It's just so. I don't like it. But the way that
flavor
conversation between the Doctor and just the way you just slowly, just quickly see Kino just change everything immediately. The look on his face after Olaf is killed, and then just the reveal there when the Doctor tells him everything, and just like we said, the ending line, no more than 12, is one of the best ending scenes of any episode, I would say, because it just gets you so damn excited. And I am so ready for next week. It is going to be off the charts good. One thing that we have not touched on yet is another big reveal in this episode, but it's actually kind of a happy one, at least in a way, is last week, Cinta kind of dropped a little tidbit with her conversation with Vel. Which, by the way, what do you think about the fact that like we were all like worried, like how's Cinta gonna get off Eldani? Like what's gonna happen? And then she just shows up. She's just on Ferrix with Vel. She's just there.
I bought it. Like Cinta is like Cinta's probably the most capable of
too. So
and also Cinta, because like I think Cinta probably got off through the Star Destroyer, like I speculated, like she hid in the bowels of the thing because they're so big you could do that. So I totally buy that she hitched a ride off there, and because she's very capable. We've seen that she is like probably the most efficient of the Eldani rebel cell. And it was really cool to see like get some time with her and Vel last episode and like just kind of get the sense. And I like that Vel repeats to her what repeats to Mon Mothma what Cinta said to her. You know, we take the moments in between, which is like I'm kind of like agree with Star Wars Explain, where I'm like I don't really vibe entirely with that, because like you do just if you aren't careful, you are going to forget what you're fighting for, and you are going to become like people like Saw, basically, who believe they're the only ones with clarity of purpose, but really they're just fighting what they hate instead of saving what they love.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and like since you mentioned Saw real quick, I just got to bring up. So when they were having the interrogation and they were building up towards the torture device, I thought it was going to be this for a second. That's what I thought it was going to be, because they were building it up, and I'm like, and they weren't showing it, and I'm like, are we going to see Bor Gullet? And then it wasn't.
Like, Saw just like turns around like, where's my Bor Gullet? It is lost.
Who took my Bor Gullet? Or we just we see Saw go on Ferrix, and he sees it, and he's like,
I think Saw will be involved in the Ferrix riots. I'm a little scared though if he gets involved though, because like we know, I've said I kind of hope, I've been kind of hoping to see Saw do something that's just objectively kind of like makes us as an audience go, whoa, that's not okay. Like you, where you can understand the reasons, but just abhor the method. And I kind of feel like we're building to that, because I know Connor has said about Rebel Rising, but I'm hoping to see something like that in live action for sure. But yeah, we were talking about talking about Vel and Mon Mothma. I love that she's family. I love that they're cousins. Yeah. It's so cool.
I think it's so cool, because we knew that they were gonna have some scenes together on Coruscant because of the trailer, but then the reveal, it's like the driver talks about Mon Mothma's cousin after another scene of her in the Senate, where it's just a bunch of people just talking over her and couldn't give two Fs, and then the reveal that it's
nobody's listening.
And again, and I was like, oh, I love this.
It's It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Yeah, I really like the fact that they made her Mon Mothma's cousin, because again, we're
Yeah,
seeing more and more of this like Chandrillan wealth and all of these like rich kids, and how that and she's such the opposite of the other Chandrillan characters that we've seen so far, of just what she
yeah.
fights for. Like she's the complete opposite of Perrin, which, by the way, yet another great, just a great like I want to punch this fucking guy in the face moment. It's like, oh yeah, you settled down and find a husband yet? And Mon
Yeah.
Mothma just gives him this look. Now,
I love Mon's little look when she just sort of like smiles quietly when Vel
like, oh, I know.
just takes it in stride and
It's
just
like that idiot does it.
like
No, don't worry.
yeah. She just fires like a veiled barb back at Perrin, and like Mon just smiles, and it's nice because like we've seen poor Mon Mothma have to like just deal with, like, she has like no one throughout most of this story aside from Tay Colmer at best to relate to. Even her own daughter resents her, which is just awful to see. Like, especially here, like the daughter is like, I don't want to judge her. I don't want to judge her too much, but she comes across so much as like a more like taking after Perrin more than Mon Mothma. Like, when neither of them are really grateful for the fact that they're only here because like their mother, her mother and his wife is a senator, and that's the reason they have this lifestyle. You know, that's the reason they can be like, they can indulge in comfort whilst other people suffer, because
I did really like her scenes with Vel, though. I thought it was the most likable they've made that character so far, because I really do want to like Lita. Not just because she's got cool hair, but just because like she's Mon Mothma's daughter. She could be so much more. And like, even if they do build her up as like being a political leader, even though she hasn't been mentioned in anything, they could, during the sequel stories, they could have her be a part of the New Republic or something like that. But you're not giving me much hope here, Tony. You're making her seem like Perrin, and just Perrin, like I just get very much like vibes from him. Like, he's the type of guy where like if he knew about Vel and Cinta, he'd be like, you just haven't found the right man yet. What do you mean you're gay? I'd be like, I want to throw you off a balcony. And then the fact that he just like throws in the little jab about Tay Colma, so the fact that like we sense a little jealousy from this bastard, and the little reveal that it's like, oh, they used to, they had a little thing when they were teenagers, and it's like, oh, the alternate timeline where they ended up together, because I would prefer that so much to your ponytail having ass. Like, I can't stand
so much of Star Wars, like, that has like characters and interactions where you're just like, I wish there was a reality where these people were happy. Like, oh, I wish there was I wish Padme and Anakin were happy. I wish Mon Mothma was happy. Why can't all these people be happy?
Gone. Like, I put out a half joking list on Twitter, if you're not following me, of like my most hated Andor characters, and I like the fact that I have like these terrible Imperials, and then number 2 and number 1 are still just Tim and Perrin. So the shit significant others who aren't really Imperial, but they're just bastards.
Yeah, Imperials suck, but you know what's
what's worse? Perrin.
Jealous boyfriends.
Jealous boyfriends and jealous husbands.
They suck.
Get out of here. But I did really love Mon's scenes with Vel, because I think it gives more, the fact that they're giving her so much more of a family and emphasizing her culture from her home planet. It's really making her character a whole lot stronger, and I'm loving it. And I love this familial relationship between Vel and Mon, which I'm now fairly certain that Vel is making it out of, at least, well, not only this season, but I'm fairly certain she's making it out of the whole series. But we'll see. Maybe they have to, because it's like, oh, where was she in the original trilogy? Where was she in Rebels? But they can get around that. Like,
I kind of hope that they take the Rebels approach, really, with like characters like Vel and Kino Loy, because they thankfully did that with like Hera and Zeb, and they just kind of integrated them into like the comics and in either background or supporting roles. And I feel like they can do the same with these characters, because they're just kind of on the level enough where they can coexist alongside like the original trilogy characters. Because it's not like Kanan and Ezra, where like if they were around, their being Jedi would break the plot, because like of course Of course, they would go on missions with Luke. Of course, Luke would be more advanced in Jedi training if he had Kanan and Ezra on hand. But obviously, that can't happen. So, like, I can see Kino and Vel surviving and maybe being part of the rebellion going forward, which I hope so. I have higher hopes for Vel than I do Kino at this point. But yeah, like the whole Vel and Mon Mothma sequence was really good, and like as we've said, it was really nice to see Mon Mothma have a family member that actually understood her and actually like recognized and loved her for who she actually was, rather than expecting her to be something else, like to be this like the fully this facade that she puts up.
Yeah, no, I love the fact that so many of these characters now with Vel included, a lot of our main characters have these double-sided lives to them. Luthen,
Yeah.
Mon Mothma, now Vel, in a way Cassian, because we haven't seen him embrace his true identity with any of them. With the Eldani people,
Exactly.
he was Clem, and now he's Keith in the prison, which I completely forgot about. I'm like, oh yeah, he's like, but no, he still has a facade, a fake name. It's a big theme of this season, which I'm really enjoying. Also, shout out to Vel. Her Black Series fig looks really cool. I haven't pre-ordered it yet because I have unfortunate adult responsibilities that I have to pay for. So I'm like, probably shouldn't order this one when I already have so many on back order. But let's hope we get a Cinta one soon because I need them together. Because I just love the two of them so much.
Yeah.
But I think the last thing that we can talk about, because we've talked about Kino and Cassian, we've talked about Vel, which I do love the reveal. And I just love how much Luthen has a role in this episode without actually being in it. Because
I was going to say
he's the axis that the ISB is going
exactly.
after.
Yes.
His influence over Vel is hanging over Mon and her scenes, but he's not here. We don't see him and Clea in the shop. We get nothing, which I thought was great.
Yeah, Clea I liked as well. I like the way Clea
her.
is shown to be kind of like a really integral part of Luthen's operation. But yeah, we feel Luthen's influence over this, not just with those characters, but with the prison scenes as well, because the whole arc that Kino goes through, it reflects what Luthen was saying to I forget who it was. No, yeah, what he says to Mon Mothma in episode 7. You know, the Empire's been, the Empire's been choking us for so long, we've started not to notice. And he basically says, we need to put the pressure on. We need the fear. Like sometimes some people, like he's basically espousing the idea that sometimes some people need to see the cruelty up close. That some people need to see be pushed in order to actually accept and become part of a rebellion. And we see that with Kino. He was willing to tolerate the system while he thought there were rules, but it takes an extreme example of cruelty with what happens on level 2 and Olaf to make him realize, yeah, these people don't care. They're giving us these rules that they will just upend because they don't care. They just want whatever suits their agenda, whatever will keep them in power, because their system is so fragile that they have to just press people, and they don't, and all the time they don't realize that the more they press people, the more it leads to rebellion. Like again, Luthen says, oppression breeds rebellion, and we see that with Kino. We see we see the oppression right up close with these prisoners, and how it pushes how it's going to lead to this huge revolt, I imagine, which is going to be incredibly cathartic, like you said, not tense in a way that the Aldani heist was. I think this is going to feel like a very cathartic episode 10.
Speaking of
due to come.
Speaking of just like intense and cruel, because I completely forgot about it. Can we talk about, because again, this Krieger character that they keep hinting at hasn't shown up yet, but he's also influenced in this episode. Can we talk about the scene where the ISB is just slowly plotting out how they're going to make this rebel pilot disappear, and just Dedra just pitching like, yeah, we'll just have him get in this flight accident and then cover it up so this information can't get revealed and he can't go back to Krieger. I'm just like, oh my God. Like, and just seeing this, I'm just like, you evil sons of bitches. Like, it's just, and that's not even, that's probably like the 5th worst thing that the Empire did in this episode. Was that scene where they're plotting this pilot's murder that they kidnapped.
it's probably the most. I think this show overall has just. It's definitely shown the Empire at its most evil. I think in a while, like because there was a lot of threat and like scariness in Obi-Wan, but that was more around the Inquisitors and the Sith, and the Empire was just kind of adjacent, really. Here we're seeing the full terror of like what the Empire is and what it does. And again, it's like again, like Luthen says, you need to see this because you need to because the Empire can sometimes, like, you know, in stuff like Rebels, be treated like a joke, and that's fine. You know, it's good to have bumbling villains, and it's, you know, and Andor even accommodates this. Like, we see some bumbling Imperials, we see Imperials who are self-serving and kind of idiotic and who kind of get in each other's way. But, you know, there's obviously more to the Empire than that, and there's a lot of like real dangerous individuals like running the show, you know, who don't care and will like step over whoever to get their agenda across. And I like that Andor is, it's one of the best things Andor has done for me, is show the Empire at their worst. But without bloodshed.
No, definitely not. And I think one of the things that Andor and Kenobi have done so well, which I love, and I have to, I'm not going to do the thing that a lot of people do where I have to drag one show down to beef up the other. I'm actually going to say they're both doing things really great. Is I love that we're seeing different sects of the rebellion form. Like how in Kenobi we had the Path, and now we have Saw's group, we have Luthen's group, who both seem to be a bit more extreme than others, and then we have Mon Mothma's way of fighting the cause, which I hope that this is leading to something, whether it be on screen or not, of when we get to see all of these groups that we've been introduced in these shows unite and just form the greater Rebel Alliance. Like if in Andor season 2, when we're going to get closer to when the full like alliance to restore the Republic is formed, and Mon Mothma has that speech, I hope we get to see, even if it's like not someone we know, like even if it's not like why am I forgetting his name? O'Shea Jackson Roken. Even if it's not him showing up, but if it's like, okay, so here's you know, 2 people from the Path that are here to help, and it's just characters we haven't known, that would be really cool. Or if like Haja shows up again, I'll be like,
I'd love to see
literally
Roken.
I'm like just coming up with it's like me with or it's like you with your Cassian on Tatooine pitch the other week. I'm just coming up with excuses.
Roken makes a lot more sense than that. I will say. Roken, like on a scale of like what's realistic and unrealistic, I'd say Roken is ranking far higher on the realistic scale than Obi-Wan.
Look, all I'm saying is if they do want to introduce some type of Force element to season 2, Reva wouldn't be a bad character to throw in there. I feel like she'd really fit the vibe of the show, especially someone that has been on the side of evil and has been the one doing the oppression. To see the reverse of that and her to try to fight that now would be super duper cool to see. But one more thing that I want to talk about before we get into Syril and what he did, because I keep thinking, we're going to wrap up, and I'm like, I forgot about these 2 things. Who do you think this banker is that Tay and Mon were talking about? This Davo, I don't even remember his name.
Yeah, he sounds. It's kind of this thing where it's like, I feel like they're showing how Mon is like having to make decisions on like what part of her morality to compromise in order to form the rebellion. Because like we've compared this to Obi-Wan, and I feel like if Obi-Wan's big thematic idea was question was, how do you persevere in such dark times? How do you find the light? How do you turn on the light and find hope? You know, in Andor, it's like, well, how do you fight oppression this fast? It's kind of like things of like in Obi-Wan, it's kind of like emotional ideas of like hope and hopelessness, whereas like in Andor, it's more it's grounded in political ideas and ideas of morality. Like how do you fight such a apathetic, oppressive system and not become the thing you're trying to fight? Not like it is kind of like the Last Jedi idea, where it's like, how do you fight back against the things you hate without losing yourself and not saving the stuff you love in the process, like saving the stuff you love in the process. Like it's really good stuff.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah, like with him, I think with that guy, I can't remember his name, the banker. I feel like we'll maybe hopefully see like a bit of the seedy underbelly of Coruscant. Maybe he's like established there, and we get to see Mon kind of go there. Like we kind of give me vibes of the Thrawn novel when Governor Price, or like just Arinda Price, as she's known back then, is stuck on the lower levels, having to kind of like deal with shady individuals. Like I'd like to see a bit of that. I kind of get the sense that might happen because it would be kind of, I feel like Mon's story has been kind of like grounded in politics, so it would kind of be interesting to build to a kind of like crescendo where like she has to deal with some like really dingy individuals.
yeah.
For lack of a better word.
Oh, I think we only have one more scene to talk about, which is Syril, what the fuck, man?
Creepy ass Syril.
Yeah, we have another scene with him and his mother, which he reveals that he has a promotion, and just the way that she goes from like degrading him and like we have to live up to your uncle's word, and you're embarrassing me. He's like, oh, I got a promotion. And she's like, oh, I knew you'd do such great things. Like, I don't like.
You're the best son ever.
I do not like it, whether it's the way that she just like the voice she puts on and everything. It's just like she reminds me of the most toxic parents out there, and I can't deal with it. But
yeah, it just shows that like she cares more about like his progress, like Cyril's progress, than she does kind of about like his emotional well-being, which is like not to like put all of the blame on her, but like I feel like that has contributed somewhat to Syril having such a emotionally repressed personality. Such thinly veiled like repression, I suppose, as we see later on.
Yeah, which we then get to him finding Dedra, or as he put it, waiting and showing up at the ISB for her to show up. And I'm just like, dude, this scene, I can't, man. Like, this guy is so pathetic. It's just gross. Like,
yeah, what a creeper.
This scene, yeah, he's like, oh, I sensed a connection. I know you feel the same way. It's just like, dude, the fact that he's getting this from an Imperial like interrogation, and he took that as, oh, we both were feeling the same thing. We both have a kindred spirit here, a genuine connection, and wanting to take out this Cassian Andor guy. It's just like, dude, like,
she's like, I don't even.
Yeah.
It's like in Good Omens, like when Aziraphale says to Crowley, "We have nothing whatsoever in common. I don't even like you."
It's like that was an interrogation.
Except here, yeah, it's like here, like she actually doesn't like him. Like she, like I know some people are like shipping them on Twitter, which is like, why? Because it's like there is no way that they're actually gonna like hook up. And if they do, I will eat my words because
we'll see. Like
I just do not like she is rattled by that. Like even when she gets into the office and she starts like talking to her aide, she breathes out. She felt very uncomfortable by that because she sees the intensity with Syril and that he, if he's pushed hard enough, he will do something dangerous. So I could kind of I saw someone speculate that Syril might do like a suicide bombing. Ooh. That the ISB will like spin to use against the rebels, which is like I could kind of see that. I think it's probably going to be something else where like maybe
like in the last two episodes, like just how unhinged he is in his dedication to what he believes is like the good cause in the Empire and like the Imperial doctrine. Last week with this, like, is there such thing as like going too far in the name for restoring order? And it's like, dude,
yeah,
and like we even
step
see
forward,
like
Syril Khan.
Yeah, and it's even see like Dedra with all what she does with Bix in the same episode. She still is like, we're not gonna use this torture with Marta. She's too old, and like I'm above that. But like, Syril would do that with no hesitation. I'm gonna torture this old lady. Like,
and I think Marva is going to be crucial. Yeah, and I think Marva is going to be crucial in doing something like being involved with what seems like an inevitable like big scale rebellion on Ferrix, because like Dedra, for all of her intelligence, has underestimated her, because she says, "Oh no, she's too old and frail to be of any threat." And yet we've seen Marva has like a fierce will to oppose the Empire. She
always holding that
cares
rifle.
exactly. She cares about the community there. Like, she cares enough to stay even when she had an opportunity to leave with Cassian, and she also like has the fire still. So I feel like that's going to definitely be something of an undoing for Dedra, where Dedra has overlooked a crucial component that might even lead to her downfall. But yeah,
I mean, we'll see.
Syril is a creeper. That's what I'll say.
No,
like
very much like big creep
yeah.
energy, and I'm not a fan.
I felt a tiny bit uncomfortable for Dedra, and I say that as someone who like genuinely hated her for torturing Bix.
Yeah, I hated her, but then like that one scene where she just kind of shoos her the guy that's working under her away, and you just see her like alone, just be like, what the hell was that? Like, I still, believe it or not, I still think that they're gonna be working together. I think all the shipping stuff is out the door, unless Dedra was like, you know what? He's right. And I'd be like, no, like that would be, it would be this show to have like the most fucked up kind of like fatal attraction type of romance thing with these two. But I think it's just going to be whether it's just Dedra using Syril, because now it's like, oh, so he's so devoted to me that I can use this to my advantage. And then that might end up leading to her downfall. But like, this guy he's all hope is lost. Yeah. Like, again, it's like I don't think there's any hope for redemption for Syril Karn, because I think he's too far gone, and he's not a good person. Like, we see him like all pathetic in the like eating his cereal and getting yelled at by his mom, and those things, like, you're so pathetic that I kind of feel bad for you. And then you do this. It's like, I've been waiting for you every day to just tell you how much that interrogation meant to me. And like, I just feel a connection between us, and I know you feel the same way. And she's like, who the hell is this guy? And it's like, yeah, I could have you arrested. And it's like, but she didn't. So maybe, but it's like,
that just seemed to like to make him more excited, which is like, ugh, no. So gross, like, get away.
If next episode she's just like finishing up a meeting and he just pops away from like from under a pillar, like, hello, Miss Miro, I'd be like, all right, it's buddy.
Like, you're like, really beautiful when you sneer at me, Miss Miro. And she's like, dude, I will call the cops on you. Get away from me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say the last thing I'll say about Syril is that he is kind of like, he's I think the reason a lot of us find him really pathetic is that he is. The main theme is that we're seeing with the series is like how apathetic the Empire is, that they set all these rules and they don't care. And yet here's Syril trying to uphold the system like that no one aside from him cares about this much. Like, I think the only other, which is probably why he feels a connection to Dedra, because he's like, oh, she's the only one who cares apart from me. But like Dedra cares only for like her own advancement. She doesn't like have this like grandiose idea of like the system is God, basically, that Syril seems to have, which is kind of going to be like where they diverge. But yeah, that's my concluding thoughts on Syril.
I agree with everything. Yeah, no, I don't like him, but I am looking forward to next week to see that big prison break, and hopefully Bix is okay, because we were talking about like how the Empire is like, if they did that thing where they're not going to let that rebel pilot go off free and they have to plan his death, there's no way they're just going to let Bix free, which means send to my girly or Brasso or someone, save her. Get her out of there.
Brasso to the rescue.
I would love, like, at the same time.
I loved seeing him back last episode. Yes. I didn't even get to say about Brasso. Brasso was back last episode, and he was just a homie as always. You know, he stuck up for he was there for Marva like Bix was, and he tried to stop the Imperials from arresting her. Like, yeah, Brasso really is a real one.
Oh, definitely. But what as I was trying to say is, I would love it if next week, while we're like how they did with the Eye, when they kept cutting between the indigenous ceremony and the actual like heist. I would love it
Ooh.
if next week, while we're seeing Cassian and Kino and Melchi try to escape, we're also seeing Brasso and Cinta or whoever else trying to get Bix out of there. Like, I would love it if we kept cutting back and forth between two escapes.
Yeah,
That would be
that would
really
go
cool.
hard.
And
That
then
would be
whatever
really
this,
cool.
I'm assuming we're going to see something with this Krieger and Saw and Luth and stuff next week too. So there is a lot to look forward to next week, and I'm so ready. Maybe the one I'm looking forward to the most out of all these episodes so far. But I think we've covered just about everything we can for Nobody's Listening, but we probably missed so much because this was just such a big episode to tackle. So Don, if you just want to plug your stuff, let the people know where we can find you, and then we can get out of here.
Yeah. Okay. So you can find me on Twitter at Donovan Mead. You know, I tweet Star Wars, Marvel sometimes, like also some Doctor Who recently. Been tweeting a lot about Doctor Who and also politics. You can also find me on sweditor.ig.com, where along with like Andrew, Connor, and like several other people, we write articles and also SWEF, which stands for SWE Fiction, where we write a series of fan stories, which we try to set along like inclusive to the main canon, where we don't aim to contradict anything, but we also like try and create these original stories in the different time periods. I've written one story, Scars of War, that came out back in May, and I've got some other stuff in the pipeline.
No, there's so much coming up. Speaking of SWE, because Jake is not here, he's taking a bit of a step back from the pod for a little bit. So hope you're doing well out there. But I do want to plug one of his stories did release, or a story that I know he worked on, which was Whispers of the Void, a new comic that came out. I know Jake is having a lot of SWEF stories coming out recently. So check those out and check out Scars of War and just check out everything that they're working on right now because there's so much good stuff coming out.
It's really good. Whispers of the Void. Read it.
I gotta read it still.
Excellent.
I gotta read it still, but I needed a little spooky dose of Star Wars content, so maybe that'll be it for me. But as for myself, you can follow me Instagram, Twitter, TikTok at Starlight Andrew. You can follow the pod on Twitter at For the Repub Pod, and on Instagram and TikTok at For the Republic Pod. You can check out our YouTube channel where you're seeing me slowly figure out how to use StreamYard's various features throughout the last couple episodes. You can check those out in video form. As for us, we're going to be doing our Tales of the Jedi coverage. We're going to be doing a double episode early next week. It was supposed to be this weekend, but we're pushing it back so more people can get involved. We're going to be doing one episode on Ahsoka, one on Dooku. So they're going to be like two pretty much mini episodes of the main show. And then once we're done with Tales of the Jedi, we will get back into our Clone Wars coverage. We have the Blue Shadow Virus episode arc coming up very soon, which I am quite excited for. And of course, we'll be back here next week for our weekly Andor recaps with hopefully more of the crew and potentially another guest coming down the pipeline. So until then, we will see you guys later. And as always, take care and may the Force be with you always.